Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion, as you can tell from the title up there, continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. Before I get too far into it, if you want to support the channel, both the Patreon and PayPal links are down below. With the Patreon, if you join, you'll gain access to certain videos early, and you'll also be able to request topics for future videos. If you just want to do a one-off support or a one-off request, the PayPal link down below. Now, we've seen Robert have a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and some of those are going to continue to go. This episode is an example of both. And of course is Young Girl, Season 5, Episode 8. Now, from that title, you can get a vague idea where this is going to be going. But in case you don't, this is the episode where Robert brings home a younger woman. And when I say younger woman, I don't mean a few years younger. I don't mean like 30 to his 44, 45-ish by this point in the show. I mean young. 21. Yeah, the type of young that everybody's going to give, at least all the men in your life are probably going to give you the look like, yeah. Or be like, you lucky sob. And of course, not the stereotype too much, but the women are going to be like, the reason I say that is because that is exactly what happens in this episode. Now, this is an episode written by Tom Catabiano and Aaron Schur. Now, Tom joins both Phil and Ray on the commentary for this episode. And it's a very interesting story he tells, because he goes from where he met Ray when they were both in stand-up on the East Coast. How one year he made $8,000 a year doing stand-up. Then when Ray moved to the West Coast to start filming the show because they didn't know it was going to be a success. They kept their family on the East Coast. They moved over. They rented an apartment building. Him and Tom rented one together. And they were in the same building as Peter Boyle. I think I've told that story early on. If I haven't, forgive me. It's been a couple years since I did the review for episode 1. I think by the time this goes live, I'll be just about at the 2-year mark. Now, during season 1, Tom was allowed into the writer's room, but he wasn't allowed until they were doing the episode Turkey or Fish, the first Thanksgiving episode for this show. People were stupid then, sweetie. If you guys want to see my thoughts on that episode, go to the playlist and find it. Now, he was in the writer's room for a while. Now, the idea for this one came from one date he had. They were going to a food event, him and a couple of the people from the writer's room. They were going with their wives. And he asked out this younger lady. In the commentary, they never give the age of the lady he was going with, just that she was noticeably younger. But the hints are that it's probably the same age as the character in this episode. Probably barely an adult, like 19, 20, 22-ish at the latest. Noticeable age difference. And all the wives are giving the husbands looks and getting on their nerves. And it's one of those things, listening to it, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, so what if he is dating someone noticeably younger than him? They are adults. I know there's that whole thing about grooming and, oh, he's going after a younger woman because no one else his age will put up with that crap, which both are good points and hard to argue 100%. However, at the end of the day, they are both grown adults. She's a grown woman. He's a grown man. They can make their own decisions. They can make their own choices. She wants to date someone older than him because she finds him attractive or just prefers older men. She can do that. If he wants to date younger women, that's on him. As long as they're both consenting 100% to everything. One party starts getting controlling or abusive, that's where it starts to go off. Or manipulative or ghostlighting or any of those other terms you want to throw in. Once that goes into play, then yeah. Then it's not good. But when everything's good, fine. I don't really get the whole thing of like other people and in the friend group, spouses of friends getting all uppity about it, because it's like, just because the one person's dating someone younger doesn't mean that the person you're married to is going to want to go for someone younger. Which, keep that in mind, that's going to be a topic of an episode later on in this season, this whole thing. Well, we'll talk about that part of it when we get there. Because that's when a relationship's already ended. This is during it when nothing's good. Just because someone else is dating someone younger doesn't mean that the person you're with, especially if you, doesn't mean they're going to want to go after someone different. It's a stupid reason to start an argument. and used the phrase, if you're insecure about it, it's like, that sounds like a you problem. I know that's a bit harsh, but it's like, hey, if you feel insecure about it, like if you're feeling insecure, don't know, for whatever reason, that's when you have that's when you have a conversation with your spouse. Communication. Now, I know it's almost been over 5 minutes. I haven't gotten to the actual meat of the episode, but that's laying the groundwork. Now, the episode proper begins with Robert bringing his new girlfriend, Erica, over, talking to everybody, saying hello to the nieces and nephews. And then she drops her age. Now, before that, everyone's all nice to her. Frank and Marie happy, especially Marie, because you know she's all like, oh, yeah. Frank is as usual, like, hey, how you doing? But then the moment Erica mentions her age, it's like a bomb drop, because you can noticeably tell everyone's changed. And I love how everyone acts in this episode. It's like Marie goes a little bit into her fake nice, but you could tell she's going into mama bear mode. Like her whole thing is, there's only one reason a woman that age dates an older man, and that's for his money. Which it's like, it's Robert. Ray even brings this up. It's Robert. What money? The only reason you would date Robert, if you're a younger woman with that noticeable age, is if you actually are attracted to him. His looks, how he behaves and all that. So there's no gold digging. Of course, Frank has a little bit of that, and that's my boy, type thing. And of course, Marie still goes with that. Debra has a little bit of that mentality that I just mentioned a bit ago, which is fully encompassed in her. That comes into play in a later part of the episode, where they're all sitting at a diner. Ray and Robert go off screen to go use the bathroom. So Erica and Debra have a little conversation talking about everything. And this is where Erica drops the major bomb. Now, at this point in the episode, the cards have been thrown on the table about why everyone's acting a little weird. It's because of the age difference. And Erica drops another major bomb here. And that is that she is young, but she's younger than what she said. She's not 21. She's 19. So she is barely adult. This is how you take that situation where you get that little grain of truth, take it, make a story out of it, and then just stretch it to make it even funnier. I know I say sitcom writing before, but this is how you do that right, and it feels genuine. I mean, it's that situational comedy thing, but it feels genuine, like a situation like this could happen in real life to you or someone in your friend group. Which I could feel like if I was lied to like that, I'd be like, eh. But I can imagine some other people would probably be like, yeah, but that's a hypothetical we're getting into there. Now, with this, Debra, you could tell she is genuinely upset about it. And like, really? You're barely out of high school. Which ties back into another thing that she brought up about how Robert, years before, had delivered a baby, and that could have been Erica. And with that age, that's even more possible. Could you imagine these two had stayed together? The stories like, oh yeah. So mommy and daddy, how did you meet? Well, we technically met because I delivered her as a baby and all that. And then that's one of those, you tell other people the story, they're like, but that's just a little funny hypothetical gag there to think. Well, Robert and Ray come back, and they can already tell there's tension. And then Debra drops the bombshell about Erica's true age, and everything goes from there. Because we find out that not only did she lie about the age, but when Erica mentions, like, oh, so the age difference is that and then that, Debra immediately picks up on that. So he's like, wait a minute. So Robert told you he was 35? She starts laughing and basically forces Robert to tell his actual age. And this is where the funny part about this comes in, because the moment Erica hears the number, she's freaked out. Which I kind of get, but this also kind of shows a double standard. So it's like, it's okay for a woman to lie about her age, whether she's usually younger, to say, but if she wants to say older, that's on her too. But the moment a man does it, it's creepy. Now I know there's always that little thing about predatory older man with younger women that I kind of touched on earlier, which that could be part of the reason Erica is there, some of the subtextual stuff. But it is still a double standard. But you can kind of see why she's a little freaked out about it, because it's older versus younger. And he lied about it. He lied about it too, or she lied about it because she didn't think she had a chance. And basically he lied the same way. But it's still one of those things like, really? And she gets uncomfortable and leaves, and that's the last time we see her. And I gotta say, Tinsley Grimes, who plays Erica, does a perfect job playing it. They don't mention this in the commentary, but according to IMDb, she was 16 when this episode aired. I don't know if that's true, but she definitely still has that younger look, and she does a pretty good job. Only other thing that popped up is that she played Mindy in Tremors, the TV series, when they had her character on there. And she does a pretty good job there. Definitely a different type of character from Erica, but still in that same type of vibe. Now, the fun thing about this is because of Robert, given his age is 35, he basically is saying that he's younger than Ray, which is a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the fact that in real life, Brad Garrett is younger than Ray Romano, so a nice little way to throw that into there. Now, they have a conversation after the fact about, oh, why'd you ruin a good thing? You didn't have a good thing, Robert. I was in a relationship that was two people lying about their age, which is true. But you never know if they'd actually come clean on their own and maybe talked about it, they could have gone, but it's one of those things that probably not. And the moment that Marie would have found out about the thing, she would have been mad at Erica for doing that, and then she would have also been mad at Robert. Shame on you. Not only are you lying at your age, you're robbing a cradle. And probably Frank would have thrown one of his lines in there. Yes. Oh, I thought we were adding statements, not accusations. Something weird like that. Now, before it cuts away from the restaurant, there is a pretty natural and funny age-related joke where they're looking at the menu to decide what they eat, and then Ray's like, yeah, I can't eat onions at this time. And then Robert's like, oh, don't worry, I got Tums. Makes them feel like they're older, but that's one of the things as you get older, sometimes you can't eat the same stuff you did. And sometimes you still can, but you just got to be more careful in the quantities, especially as your metabolism starts to slow. All in all, this is a pretty fun episode. I don't know if I'd call it one of the best of the season, but it is definitely another fun Season 5 episode. Continues Robert's arc of failed relationships forward, shows he's going to try other stuff. And of course, as we get further and further along, heading towards Season 7, we're going to see a lot more. And of course, a couple of them are going to be later on in this very season, one of which is one of those ones where I'm going to be like, really? We have to have this type of thing? We'll get to that episode when we get to that one, because that will be another reappearance of Stefania, but we have another reappearance of Stefania before that. Or speaking of which, it's kind of interesting that we go from one episode dealing with a relationship where it's just two people lying to a relationship where it's two people lying in public. Next episode is going to be about Debra's parents. It's, of course, going to be fighting in-laws. Till next time, guys.